registration. And keep your hands where I can see them.
I'm in uniform, officer. What's the stop for?
Don't play smart with me. This ain't your jurisdiction. You stealing this SUV?
No, it's issued.
Here, look.
County badge. William Carter, deputy sheriff.
Ha.
License and registration. And keep your hands where I can see them. The voice came sharp through the open air, louder than it needed to be on a quiet stretch of highway in Fulton County. The red and blue lights behind the SUV flashed against the late afternoon sun, washing the roadside impulses of color. Inside the driver's seat sat Marcus, 38 years old, nearly 15 years into service as a Fulton County Sheriff's deputy. Calm by habit, controlled by training. The kind of officer people called when a scene needed steady hands instead of loud ones. He wasn't chasing anyone. He wasn't responding to a call. He wasn't doing anything remotely suspicious. He was heading back to the courthouse. Before we go any further, if you want more real-world style stories like this, where one bad assumption turns into a full-blown public disaster, subscribe now. These situations happen fast, and the details matter. Marcus kept both hands high on the steering wheel, palms open, fingers spread. He didn't reach. He didn't argue. He didn't make sudden moves. He'd seen too many stops go wrong for less. "Officer," Marcus said evenly, "I'm in uniform. What's the stop for?" The driver's side officer, Daniel, didn't answer the question. He stood too close to the window, shoulders tense, hand hovering near his holster as if Marcus had already done something threatening. Whitford's partner, Kyle, moved around toward the passenger side, scanning the interior like he was hunting for proof of a conclusion he'd already reached. Whitford leaned in, eyes narrowed. "This ain't your jurisdiction." Marcus blinked once, controlled. "I'm Fulton County Sheriff's Office, county-issued vehicle. I'm on duty." Whitford's expression didn't soften. It hardened. Like calm confidence from Marcus felt like disrespect. "You stealing his SUV?" The words landed heavy. Not just because they were wrong, because they revealed what this stop was built on. Marcus kept his voice low and steady. "No, it's issued. County badge. My ID is on my belt." Brenner let out a skeptical laugh from the other side of the SUV. "Sure it is." This was already off script. No reason stated. No plates run, no protocol, just heat. And Marcus could tell instantly that neither of them was listening to what he was saying. They weren't reacting to evidence. They were reacting to an image in their heads, a black man behind the wheel of a government SUV, and the assumption that he must not belong there. 15 years in law enforcement had taught Marcus something simple. Most problems start small. Most disasters start with pride. Earlier that afternoon, Marcus had finished paperwork at a local substation. Nothing dramatic, just routine. He climbed into a black county-issued Chevy Tahoe, standard fleet vehicle, government markings on the plates, and started back toward the courthouse. The radio hummed quietly. Sunlight glinted off her, the badge clipped to his duty belt. He was thinking about lunch. Then a white Ford Crown Victoria slid out from the median and latched onto his rear bumper, riding uncomfortably close. Marcus checked his mirror. 2 officers, neither one familiar. The driver leaned forward like he was trying to see through Marcus's headrest. The passenger pointed at something in the dashboard, then at Marcus's SUV. Marcus had seen that look before. The look officers get when their minds have already decided, and their training is struggling to catch up. Red and blue lights erupted. Marcus exhaled, eased onto the shoulder, and shifted into park. Calm hands, calm movements, no surprises. But the moment he stopped, the energy outside exploded. Whitford and Brenner stepped out fast, hands too close to their holsters, posture too aggressive for a simple stop. Whitford barked again. "Driver, keep your hands where we can see them." Marcus raised his hands higher on the wheel. "Officer, is there a reason for the stop?" No answer. Whitford approached like Marcus was a threat. Brenner circled wider, scanning through the rear windows. Whitford reached the driver's side window and stared for a beat. Long enough to make it clear he wasn't checking facts. He was checking fit. Then he finally spoke. "This your vehicle?" "It's issued," Marcus said. "I'm on duty. Headed back to the courthouse." Whitford's eyebrows pulled tight. "Oh yeah, you work for the county. Doing what exactly?" Marcus didn't flinch. "Sheriff's deputy?" Brenner muttered, just loud enough to be heard. "Sure you are. Badge in the wrong hands doesn't mean much." Marcus kept his breathing even, but inside, irritation pressed against the edges of his patience. He could see the government plates. They could see the government plates. And yet neither of them had bothered to do the simplest thing. Verify. "Officer Whitford," Marcus said calmly. "My identification is on my belt. I'm going to reach for it slowly so you can confirm who I am." Whitford's hand snapped up. "Don't move. Not yet." That was the moment Marcus felt the situation tilt from unprofessional into dangerous. If he couldn't reach for his ID, and they refused to verify anything, then the stop wasn't about confirming the truth. It was about control. Brenner peered into the back seat. "He's got equipment back here. Bag, tactical case, charger. Something feels off." "That's my issued gear," Marcus said. Whitford's jaw tightened. "We'll see." Whitford stepped back like he was preparing to take control the wrong way. "All right," he said. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to step out nice and slow. We'll sort the rest out after." Marcus didn't move yet. He met Whitford's eyes through the window. "Before I touch anything," Marcus said, voice steady but weighted, "you need to know everything happening right now is being recorded. Your body cams, my dash cam, and the courthouse system I'm reporting back to." The words didn't calm Whitford. They rattled him. Brenner's gaze flicked toward the dash cam, mounted on Marcus's windshield, like he'd forgotten those existed. For a split second, the bravado wavered. Then Whitford doubled down, louder. "Step out of the vehicle, now." Marcus opened the door slowly. No drama, no sudden motion. Sunlight hit his uniform first, plain as day. The badge on his belt caught the light. Brenner still muttered, "Could have gotten that online." Whitford moved behind Marcus immediately. "Hands behind your back." Marcus kept his tone factual. "For what reason?" Whitford didn't give one. He grabbed Marcus's wrist. Quick, rough, impulsive. Rookie behavior from a man trying to look decisive. Marcus didn't resist. He didn't tense. He let his arms move back naturally. "I'm not resisting," Marcus said, "but you still haven't told me the reason for the stop." Brenner didn't wait for anything resembling protocol. He went straight for the back door of the Tahoe. "Hey," Marcus said, turning his head slightly, "you do not have consent to search." Brenner ignored him and yanked the door open. Gear shifted. Items clattered. The sound was loud enough to pull eyes from the road. Cars slowed. Drivers craned their necks, phones rising instinctively, because they didn't know what was happening, but they knew what it looked like. Brenner dug through the radio bag, the trauma kit, the cuffs pouch, handling it like rummaging through a stranger's property, not an officer's equipment. Marcus's chest tightened. Not fear, frustration. "That's an illegal search," he said. "You know that." Whitford clicked his tongue. "We'll decide what's legal." That was the arrogance that always comes before the consequences. Another vehicle pulled onto the shoulder behind the scene. A woman stepped out, phone already recording. "You okay?" she called out. Whitford snapped his head. "Ma'am, step back." She didn't. More cars slowed, more phones appeared. The stop was becoming a roadside spectacle, the kind departments dread, Because the footage never favors the person who escalated first. Brenner popped open the rear case where Marcus kept his tactical vest. And then he froze. Inside was a full county-issued vest with Sheriff printed in bold letters across the front. Patch, serial number, official markings. The kind of thing you don't buy online. Whitford noticed his partner stop moving. "What is it?" Brenner didn't answer immediately, but his face changed, just slightly. Whitford stepped closer and looked into the case. His eyes hit the vest, then the serial number, then the county stamp. For the first time, his confidence cracked. "This doesn't make sense," Whitford muttered. "It makes perfect sense," Marcus replied, voice flat with exhaustion. "If you had run the plates, you
would destroy them. Over 5,000 Marines would participate. Artillery would fire thousands of rounds. Navy ships would add their guns. Fighter bombers would drop bombs and napalm. Helicopters would provide close air support and transport. This would be combined arms warfare on a scale not yet seen in Vietnam. And the Marines were confident. They had trained for this. They had the firepower. They had the will. They would show what American forces could do. But the Viet Cong were not the untrained guerrillas some American planners imagined. The 1st VC Regiment was a professional military unit. Many of its officers had fought the French in the First Indochina War. They understood tactics. They understood how to use terrain. They had prepared extensive fortifications, bunkers, trenches, spider holes, tunnels, fighting positions carefully sited to cover avenues of approach. And they were motivated. This was their country. They were fighting for what they believed was independence and unification. They would not break easily. As dawn broke on August 18, 1965, the largest American ground operation of the war was about to begin. Marines were moving into position. The Viet Cong were waiting in their bunkers. And in a few hours, the beaches and rice paddies around Van Tuong would become a battlefield. Young Americans and young Vietnamese were about to fight and die in numbers that would shock both nations. This is the story of Operation Starlight, the first major battle, the first test, and the beginning of a pattern that would define the American experience in Vietnam. The operation began not with Marines landing on beaches, but with a Vietnamese defector walking into a South Vietnamese command post. It was August 15, 1965, 3 days before Operation Starlight would launch. The defector said he had been with the 1st Viet Cong Regiment, and he had critical information. The regiment was massing in the Van Tuong area. They were preparing for a major attack. Their target was Chu Lai. They intended to strike the American air base, destroy aircraft on the ground, and inflict a devastating blow that would show the world that Americans could be defeated. The defector's information went to Major General Nguyen Chan Thi, commander of South Vietnamese forces in Dai Corps. Thi did not share it with his own subordinates. He went directly to Lieutenant General Louis Walt, the American Marine commander. This was unusual. South Vietnamese generals often withheld intelligence from Americans, but Thi and Walt had developed a working relationship. Thi understood that if the intelligence was accurate, only American Marines had the capability to respond quickly enough to preempt the attack. Walt's intelligence officers had independently been tracking signs of Viet Cong activity in the Van Tuong area. Radio intercepts, agent reports, aerial reconnaissance showing increased movement. The defector's information corroborated what Marine intelligence suspected.
And looked back at Marcus. "Deputy, I'll take it from here. Thank you for staying calm." "Yes, sir," Marcus said. Then added, still controlled, "They searched my vehicle without consent." Keaton's head snapped toward Whitford. "You two conducted a search?" Whitford tried to speak. "Sir, we believed—" "You believed what?" Keaton interrupted, voice still calm, almost too calm. "That a black man driving a county SUV must be a criminal? That his uniform was stolen? That his badge was fake? Is that what you're about to tell me?" Whitford's mouth opened. No words came. Brenner spoke instead, voice low and cracking. "We made assumptions, sir." Keaton's eyes narrowed. "You sure did." He reached into the SUV and lifted the vest himself, running a thumb across the serial number. His expression hardened. This alone should have stopped the entire encounter. But instead, you escalated. A woman on the shoulder, still recording, called out, "He told them he was an officer. They ignored him." Keaton didn't respond to her, but he heard it. He heard everything. He turned to Marcus. "Deputy Rivers, give me your account." Marcus spoke clearly, professionally, each word landing clean. No embellishment, just facts. They initiated the stop without stating a reason. I kept my hands visible. They refused to verify my identification. When I told them where it was, they prevented me from reaching for it. They pulled me out without cause and began searching the vehicle the moment I stepped out. Keaton nodded slowly, then looked at Whitford. "Is any part of that untrue?" Whitford shook his head once. "No, sir." "And you, Officer Brenner?" Brenner's voice barely existed. "No, sir." Keaton took one step closer to them and lowered his voice so only they could hear, though Marcus could still catch every word. "Do you understand what you've just done?" Keaton asked. "You illegally detained a deputy. You conducted an unlawful search. You escalated a situation you created. And you did it while cameras were rolling and civilians were recording." Whitford's eyes dropped. Brenner's hands shook. Keaton straightened and addressed everyone. "Deputy Rivers, you are no longer being detained." Marcus stepped away from the SUV and rolled his shoulders, tension easing for the first time since the lights went on behind him. Then Keaton turned back to Whitford and Brenner. "Officer Whitford, Officer Brenner, turn around." Both men froze. Keaton's voice didn't change. "Now!" They turned slowly, the reality settling over them like cold rain. Keaton keyed his radio. "Dispatch, this is Chief Keaton. I need internal affairs at my location immediately. Serious misconduct situation." Whitford's shoulders slumped. Brenner shut his eyes. "To avoid interference with the investigation," Keaton continued, "both of you are being detained pending IIA review." Then the command that sealed the moment. Clean, final, undeniable. "Hands behind your back." The metallic click of cuffs cut through the quiet highway air. One set, then the other. Bystanders went silent, phones still up. Everyone understood what they were watching. Officers being cuffed by their own chief. That doesn't happen unless something serious happened. Internal affairs arrived soon after, investigators stepping out with clipboards and cameras, their presence bringing a different kind of silence, the kind that settles in when accountability becomes real. Keaton laid it out without drama. Illegal stop, illegal detainment, illegal search. Deputy identified himself early. They ignored him. Multiple recordings. One investigator, blunt and direct, questioned Whitford first. "Which one of you initiated the stop?" Whitford swallowed. "I did." "And your reason?" That hesitation, just a beat too long, said everything. "We believe the driver didn't match the vehicle." "So you profiled him?" The investigator replied, tone flat. "That alone violates policy." Whitford didn't argue. He couldn't. Across the scene, Marcus listened. Arms crossed, not triumphant, not vengeful. Just steady. Like someone who'd endured far too many moments where the truth didn't matter, and finally watched it matter again. At one point, Whitford broke, voice pleading. "Sir, please, we're sorry. We didn't know." Marcus stepped forward, quiet but firm. "You didn't need to know who I was to treat me with respect," he said. "A uniform shouldn't be the reason you act professional. Your oath should." That line landed harder than the cuffs. As the investigators guided Whitford and Brenner toward the internal affairs van, a bystander muttered, half stunned, "They really arrested the wrong guy today." Another voice answered, sharper, "This is why people don't trust cops." Keaton held the scene and ordered the crowd back, but it was already out there. Recorded, witnessed, undeniable. Before the doors closed, Brenner looked up at Marcus, eyes wet, voice shaking. "I'm sorry, really." Marcus nodded once, not forgiving, not forgetting, just acknowledging reality. "Do better," Marcus said. "If you stay in this job, do better." The van doors shut with a heavy thud. When the cruisers finally cleared and traffic resumed, Marcus returned to his Tahoe. The inside felt familiar again. Not a crime scene, not a battleground, just his workspace, his responsibility. He put both hands on the wheel, took a deep breath, and pulled back onto the road. Because even after a day like that, the job didn't stop. The badge didn't stop, and neither did he. If you think this stop was handled completely wrong, tell me what you think in the comments, and don't miss what happens next.